think we're going now. Good day, everyone. We're going to start a playthrough of Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen now, as a Magick Archer. Magick Archer is a vocation that I've played quite a bit in the end game as a fully leveled character, but I've never actually played through the main game as one, so this will be a unique experience. This is going to be not quite a regular new game because this isn't a fresh save file, but what I've done, or what I'm doing, is sort of resetting the game to the beginning but keeping all my stuff by doing the switching to normal mode and then back to hard mode trick. What this does is it starts the game over from the beginning. But to simulate as best I can a new game, I will be using a mod linked in the description to adjust my level down, my and my pawn's levels down to as low as the mod will allow, which as far as I can tell is level 10, but that's close enough to level 1. As many times as I've played through the game, I can tell you at the beginning, when playing on hard mode at least, after just completing the first few quests, you'll be just under level 10 anyway. One angry, hungry, sleepy boy. And here we are, getting on into it. If you do this is an easy chance to have a chance of re-editing your character if you get them in game and they look a little funky. So we'll go ahead and go with that. I've already spent way too much time on character creation, as always. As you can see, the voices are in Japanese thanks to the second mod I linked. For those of you who might have played the original Dragon's Dogma for the PlayStation 3 or the Xbox 360, you may have remembered they had an option for Japanese voices added to the game in the expansion, but it wasn't carried over in the remasters due to rights issues. which is the same reason why there are a couple armor sets missing from the game. And the title music is different from the main menu screen. The game actually didn't originally have a Japanese dub, only an English one. But we can't have that now, can we? So, thankfully some good lads at the Nexus made this mod to restore the Japanese voiceovers to the best of their ability. Oh, oops. That's alright. So there are two ways to quickly get through this. Normally you just go and bang on him for a little while before the cutscene kicks in. Or you can just suicide into the fire like I attempted to do. Unfortunately I haven't had a chance to adjust me level down yet. So it wasn't enough to one-shot me. So you can also run into the water away until the brine take you. And that brings us right into the game. So, for those who might be new to the game, Dragon's Dogma is a Western-style RPG made by Capcom. The premise of the story is, as you saw in the cutscene, you got your eye ripped out by the dragon. But you didn't die. So now, we gotta go get it back. This lets you select your vocation. These are the 3 basic vocations. Fighter. Primary weapon's a sword, as it says. Secondary is a shield. So, very up close and personal class. So, it's great fun, especially if you got it perfect blocking with the shield, because this staggers and damages enemies. They're just fun to watch in action. Honestly, even having your pawns, fighter pawns, I especially enjoy watching do work. They can swap between defense and offense in an instant. Very nice class. One of their weaknesses, though, is ranged enemies. Well, not ranged in as much as flyers. They have great difficulty reaching flying enemies, with the exception of large flying enemies that have pirates hanging onto the ground that you can grab and climb up. Can be a bit of a thing for fighters to handle. Here we have Strider, which is an uber versatile class. Arguably the single most versatile class in the game. There's not a single enemy in the game they can't handle. That's including certain enemy types that are immune to physical damage. Striders also make really, really good pawns. If you put in the effort to train them well, they can just shred enemies in a variety of ways, using both their daggers and their bars. Mages, I'll be perfectly honest, I'm not too high on. So mages have a combination of medium level damaging magic and healing magic. They are the only class that can, when you get damaged, there are 2 types of health. You will have an empty health bar, and that's actual damage, and then you'll have a gray health bar, or a gray portion of the damage, and that's recoverable health. And mages will heal you up that portion of your health with those spells. For this build I had to start as a mage. A link to the builds I'll be using for myself and my main pawn are in the description. And I will go ahead and use the mod to reset my levels. Reset. Mage. As far as I know, you can't go down to level 1. It defaults you to level 10. Which is unfortunate, but ultimately fine. It doesn't really change anything. Plus this is hard mode. So it'll be a while before I can actually do damage and not get one-shot by things. If you're just starting out, I definitely recommend getting your feet under you with normal mode before attempting hard mode. We'll go ahead and reset my main pawn as well. Reset. Fighter. A fighter is probably what I'm going to make her actually. I'm a bit torn between that or sorcerer, but to be safe, we will... either way, the build I'm going with for her can do either, can freely swap. That's why I really like these hybrid builds where... Let's see that. Well, that's odd. Why am I suddenly leveling up? Let's fix that again. This actually happened the last time I did that as well, as far as I should have been expecting it. Alright, we should be good now. Should be the opportune word. So, kick off the little beginning cutscene here. Or follow-up cutscene, as it were. Welcome to Cassidy, the starting village of the game. Well, that would have been embarrassing. See my terrible parkour skills. Nice quaint coastal village. Fishy town. There are actually some neat little spots here in hidden areas. Be careful to, if you do this jump, be careful to slide down that rock or you'll splot and hurt yourself a little bit. Some of the treasures in here. Have various things. Nothing in the boxes. There's a little cave down here with some other loot. Do the same thing, try to slide down the rock. Typically, your character, notice how she stumbles. But that's typically a warning that, or if you fall from here, this is a height that will cause fall damage, or just outright kill you. So you have to basically force yourself off. You just do it again and there they go. That nasty stuff is the brine. Capcom weren't, well, the theory is they weren't able to implement a swimming mechanic in the game, so they came up with this as a reason of why you have to stay out of the water. If you go in too deep, this stuff will grab you and will eventually chuck you back to a safe place, which is very kind of them. Fortunately, they're not nearly as kind to your pawns. If a pawn falls into the water too deep and are taken by the brine, you will have to go find a rift stone to either rehire them if they're a support pawn, or just touch the stone to revive your main pawn. But I keep talking about pawns. What even are they? Well, this cutscene should explain.
昔方現れた男、ポーンと呼ばれる連中でな、どこか違法の地より忽然とわしらの前に現れる。どこか得体の知れぬ者たちだよ。奴らは人間ではない。外見はほとんどわしらと変わりないが、人なら持っている意志や感情がとても希薄なのだ。そもそも奴らはセントとしていわゆる傭兵のような役目を生き様としておる。村の西方にドラゴン討伐の兵を集める宿営地があるのじゃが、ちょうど今兵士を募っておるようだから、そこに行けばお仲間がたくさんいるじゃろう。奴に付き添ってそこを訪れてみてはどうだ。お前のもとにポーンが現れた理由がわかるやもしれん。
Alright. So pawns, to further explain, are AI-controlled companions for your journey. They're your teammates, your squad mates, if you will. They can be... I forgot to check the notice board. This is fine. I'll get it on the way back. So as the Adaro suggested, you need to go to the encampment to learn more about pawns, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump over here. You can already see it. Just down the road. So as you see, you have, as a mage, you have different spells. Yeah. When you first start, you'll only have regular Ingles, so you'll just one fireball. And then you have Anodyne, which is your heal spell. As long as you stay in this cloud, you will recover your recoverable health. The high version, High Anodyne, has a persistent effect, so even if you walk outside the cloud, it will still recover your health. It's faster to stay in the cloud, of course, but you can't always do that in the heat of combat. Something you'll get used to in hard mode, that not only do you take more damage, but you also use double stamina. So you can run out pretty quickly if you're not careful and you sprint too much, or you spam skills too much, at least early on, before you get some levels under you. Then improve your stamina bar. And this is Rift Crystal. This is where you go to summon pawns. And at last we have our orders. have a little challenge to undertake before we can acquire our main pawn. I'm sure there's nothing over that way. I will go ahead and grab these since I'm here. These are where you get side quests. They're notice boards. There's one here. There's one in Cassidus that I forgot to check, like a dummy. And then in the main city of this game, there are 2. And then there are 3 in the expansion dungeon. Most of them are either fetch quests, like gather a certain amount of items, or kill a certain amount of enemies. They're nice themes to keep you occupied in between doing story quests and to accomplish while you're just generally exploring. Let's see what critter they've conjured for us. It's a curious one, this. Thing's very nearly dead already. As you'll see later on, full health Cyclops has a whole lot of health, whereas this one is pretty laughable. That symbol suggests it's being sent by a certain somebody. So Cyclops are weak to lightning. Fire still does a decent number to them, but they're particularly weak to the lightning. There we go. And of course their eye is their big weak point. So Palpatine, who's somehow returned again, seemingly summoned this little bugger. Which begs the question, why would he bring one that was already so near death? Just... unless the guards did this to it. Which in case, well, what did they need my help for? Because they already did the job. Just something to wonder about. Seems very questionable. Alright, let's go ahead and get our main pawn now. Base class fighter, and that's what she'll be the entire time, probably. So if this was a new game, there'd be some extra steps after you create your pawn's appearance. There'll be a little mini questionnaire that will determine your pawn's starting inclinations. Inclinations being sort of your pawn's behavioral patterns. And they're actually quite important, and there's a fairly substantial difference in... oh, is she leveling too? Well, we gotta fix that. We'll go ahead and let the level up prompt, and we'll go ahead and do this. Or, I should probably go online first. Silly me. Go down to options, gameplay online. Make sure to save. On console, this auto save, but for some reason on the PC version you have to manually save, or it won't accept. It's very strange. Alright. So this is how you summon a pawn. So I'm going to be a Magick Archer, and my pawn is a fighter. So what could we get to fill out our party of 4? Let's see. We'll search by level. You can change search conditions. So there won't be decent range of pawns at level 10 because level 10 is the first level you can actually change your vocation to anything besides one of the 3 basic vocations. Ditto for these 2. So we won't need a fighter. So we'll grab nice. Oh, you've already gotten some pretty good spells. Now where are the Striders? Oh, I didn't check. I didn't check what border skills she has. There we go. That one seems to have some bitter black wings. Possibly. Go ahead and list this one. Wow, that's a thing. We'll go ahead and grab you. Switch in. Alright. Exit the rift. And there we go, our little starting party. What skills do you even have? Threefold arrow, triad shot. It's not bad, not bad. I will attempt to make a more in-depth explanation of the 9 different vocations available to you, 6 of which are available to pawns, once we get to Bitter Black here shortly. So I'm going to go ahead and put a hold on that. Since we're already level 10, we don't have to dally around completing quests already to get to this point. So on normal playthroughs, when I start a fresh save, I focus on getting those first 10 levels so we can switch vocations, which typically cleans up most of the notice board quests and all of the little side quests that are available at this point of the game, this very beginning. And then by that time it's typically getting dark, because it has to be dark before you can go to Bitter Black Isle initially. And we go there because it's an easy place to switch vocations. You can either switch there or in Grand Soren, but there's some story quests we have to go through before we go to Grand Soren, and it's difficult to get there pre-level 10. So if you're following a build, you can throw it off a little bit if you level too much as a class you don't want. Of course, I'm using the same mod, or I'm going to use the same mod that I used to set me level down to 10 in the first place, to adjust my levels every 10 levels or so with the builds that I've chosen. So I can actually play as the class I want while still getting the stats I need that I want.
れまでも多くがそうやって竜の世界の断りに乗り込んできたのです。浅はかに。竜は世界に繰り返し現れ、各社もまたその度に生まれ、だがほとんどの各社は竜にまみえることすら叶わず、その身を滅することとなる愚かな末路です。
Got a regular face for Radiar. No wonder he wants to end the world. I feel you, mate. I get it.
宿営地と言いましたかね。各社殿もよくご存知のはず。兵を募っておるようですが、いかにそれが無益なことか。じきにお分かりになるでしょう。
Alright, that little detour over with. I'll go ahead and finally grab this notice board quest. It's dangerously close to a oh yeah, I need to adjust hair level down. Almost forgot about that. Respec. Reset. There we go. That'll adjust as it will. Let's go ahead and switch her into her starting armor. Or starting equipment. I will adjust this stuff down. Let's see. This is fine. Gives a lustrous touch. Something like that. We're going to cosplay the beginning vocation. When you select your vocation, the preview armor. Most of which you can get moderately early game. This one actually, the fighter, is a bit of a bugaboo though, as the cape is something you don't get until the very end of the game, where you just a hop, skip, and jump from fighting the final boss. What was I looking for? And whistles. Laborer's breeches. Where are they? There they are. And here's the cape in question. There we go. So, wait, that's not what the fighter wears. I'm getting mixed up. Oh right, I was going to dress her like a Mystic Knight actually. That's where that's where the confusion was coming in. There we go. Right, the leather gloves. Same breeches at least, but different boots and pretty much everything else. Wait. There we go. Alright. So this will be... Wait, in that case... How did I get 3 of those shields? That must have been a mistake in purchasing. Oh well. So this will be a starting armor. Don't need that. Don't need those. Alright. We'll go ahead and rest till nightfall. Or that's an actual surprise. Okay, we take those. Sorry, we'll come back for you later, love. Now, there's the cutscene that lets you know this is even available. Welcome to Bitter Black Isle. This is the expansion dungeon. And really it's no place to tango in at this level. Especially if you're a beginner. But we don't always follow the rules here. It's a good place for some quick early levels to shoot you up, which is handy in hard mode especially, to get you to a point where you can actually start fighting more comfortably. And it's exceedingly useful because it's an easy place to change your vocation.
私はどうやら自身の置かれた状況、なすべき目的、自身の過去すら判然としないようなのです。今わかるのは、私もまた何者かによってここに呼び寄せられ、ここを動けずにいること。遠くにあなたの思念を感じ、助けを求めたこと。あなたを呼べば、その何者かの願いを叶える力になる。 直感したこと。私にはここであなたに助力する役目が与えられている。そんな自覚があるのです。ただし私の力をお貸しします。さあ、何でも私の力を。
Change vocation. So now I'll take the opportunity to show off the different vocations a wee bit. So we'll start with fighter, just grab some random weapons. Okay, my skills are unequipped, I see. Set skills. Notice I don't equip any shield skills. For the most part, I don't find much use for them. personally. You really just need your perfect block. You have a dash and burst strike. This helps flyers, Heaven's Witch Launch. Yeah, stamina drains quickly. Early game. I imagine this one. This is your pretty much ultimate attack here. This is almost cheating. Dragon's Mar. You have to have your vocation maxed out to be allowed to even get it though. This entire animation is an iframe. You're completely immune to damage the entire time. So basically you just blitz in there, rush in, go to town. Really good for rushing right into a crowd of smaller enemies and just sending them flying. Gathers a lot of aggro as well, just because of how up close and personal you are. And your pawn especially is safe, because defensively it relies on how good you are at perfect blocking. But your pawns will typically be quite good at it, naturally. And we'll try Strider. Oh, get on your game. Notice that warning where it warned me about equipping an item that has a level requirement to it. Certain weapons have level requirements. Generally they're pretty low during the regular game at least, but weapons that come from this place can go up to requiring level 51, I believe is the highest. And if you equip them and try to use them, then even regular attacks will drain all of your stamina. You will be pretty worthless in a fight. But now, Strider is a very handy little class that uses a short bow and daggers. I already have all this, I need to click the right button is what I need. These are the 6 skills I prefer on Strider personally. Ditto for if you want to Strider pawn. So, here you can hold your left bumper, your left L1 to aim your bow, fire with the R2. Notice that you can strafe at full walking speed with a short bow. 5-fold flurry is what it says on the 10. And poor volley. This can be a bit tricky to aim, but you fire up and rain some destruction in a little area of effect. This one's the one that's tricky for you to aim. You fire a little explosive shot that blows up and staggers and stuns enemies. Your pawns will be just snipers with that one. They will just stagger lock just the biggest, toughest bosses with it. It's pretty amusing. 100 kisses. Everyone that uses daggers can use it. Same with this one. This is your dash. And here though, Skull Splitter. You kind of leap up. You do your best Sonic the Hedgehog impression. This does massive damage. You've got a tall enemy and you can get up high on them, leap off and use Skull Splitter, or its upgraded version, which is Brain Splitter, upgraded from rings from this island. This also has a really handy upgrade, as well as 100 kisses. You want to try to get upgrades for all of those, if you can. You can fight it medium to moderately long range. Get up close with your daggers. Skull Splitter. And Striders are particularly good at a unique mechanic in this game, which are climbing enemies. Big boss monsters you can actually climb on to try and reach their weak points. Such as the Cyclops before, I could have climbed up on it. Of course I was a mage at the time, so it would have been pretty worthless. And you do have to be careful because, say you want to play Strider or something like that, and your main pawn is a sorcerer or a mage or something. Your main pawn will learn from your behavior. So if you're climbing a lot, they tend to start thinking they should climb a lot too, which is the last thing you want a sorcerer or a mage to do. You want them on the ground casting spells, preferably at a safe distance, so they don't get interrupted. But yeah, Strider can handle every enemy in the game. Or just including spectral enemies. Just equip some nice enchanted daggers. Use Skull Splitter, and there goes the ghosties. It's actually really lovely. Also, you have your bows, so obviously flyers aren't an issue like they are with fighter. Notice how even that basic attack, my stamina was draining. It's because I equipped these daggers, which are way beyond me level. Okay, mage. Already showed you a little bit. Warrior. This is the advanced red class. Use big clunky two-handed weapons. And you only have 3 abilities instead of 6 like most classes do. I don't do much with them, honestly. Warriors. It's not really my thing. I don't particularly care for the big clunky two-handed weapons. That being said, the jump light attack comes out really fast and does good damage and has good knockdown. So from what I could tell on my Game Fox, people like to stack knockdown, stagger buffs and just stun lock enemies with Warrior. So that could be amusing if you like to smash things. Ranger is an advanced yellow class. Uses daggers, and instead of a short bar, you have a long bar. So remember how fast you get strafe as a Strider with a short bar. Ranger does not have the same luxury, but they have a lot more range, and their bar just packs a great deal more of a wallop. Their bread and butter ability is Tenfold Flurry, which drinks the stamina, but does massive damage, especially if you equip specialty arrows in. So go to tools. There are various specialty. These blind enemies, these blast arrows. This is the highest DPS for a ranger. equip a bunch of blast arrows, spam tenfold flurry on the boss's weak point, and they just go boom. Of course, that's a lot of weight, you have to carry a lot of them, but it's definitely a way to get the job done quickly and efficiently. As for the others, Silencer, Poison, Sleeper, the blind ones, various ones. If you don't want to go full DPS Ranger, you can equip them with a Rusty Longbow. And let's see, what's the ability called? You can make a Mad Debuff Ranger. This is actually a handy thing you can do in hard mode, since early on you're not going to be doing much damage. You can debuff enemies to make them easier for your pawns who will do regular damage to have their way with. It's a fun play style. It's a bit different if you want to try it out. And skills. Let's see. Is this it? No, this is it. Whirling arrow, spiral arrow. So this is an interesting little attack that will... I think that was the right one. Yeah, so what that attack does is it does several weak blows to an enemy, but every little tick of damage it does, it has a chance of inflicting status effects. So if you're using specialty arrows, it has a chance of inflicting whatever the status effect that you're trying to inflict is. And if you do it with a rusty longbow, rusted weapons, once you upgrade them enough, will start being able to inflict poison and torpor on enemies. Now, poison's one thing. That's I feel like most probably understand what poison does. Slower dark damage. But torpor is very handy because it puts monsters in slow motion. All of their animations will be just super slow and sluggish. Especially if they get knocked down. They take an eternity to get back up. It's pretty hilarious. So if you have a rusted longbow handy and you can upgrade it pretty handily, pretty quickly and easily, you can be a nice debilitation ranger. It's also something you can do for your pawn. They can either be DPS with the strongest longbow you have and blast arrows spamming tenfold flurry, or they can slap a rusty longbow on there and debilitate. Speaking of the specialty arrows, when it comes to pawns, you actually teach them to use them. So if you're a ranger or a strider or just a bow class that can use them, and you use them and you keep using them, they will learn how to use them as well. So that's handy. Always remember your pawns learn from the way you fight as well, and you can put in the effort and really make them shine. Sorcerer. This is your big nuke spells. Fairly long cost times, but big damage. So you basically keep them safe and let them go to work. I somehow missed every single meteor. Oh dear. Oh well, we'll show you just so. I can at least catch that on camera. big ice spikes. Notice though how I've not upgraded all of my sorcerer spells. There's a reason for that. I'll explain in a moment. Something mages and sorcerers can also do are enchant weapons. So you just target here, have some Horley on your staff. If you want to self-cast, click in your left control stick and it'll automatically self-target. Now, an interesting thing about sorcerers and mages is your basic attack, your bolts, and then once you unlock the core skill for Holy Folk or for Focus Bolts, you hold the light attack button and you release it. And you will fire a charge shot like your Rockman with your Rock Buster. Now, depending on what your staff is enchanted with, will determine how these orbs behave. Holy is arguably the best ones, as they super home in and do just an insane amount of damage. If something's weak to Holy, they melt enemies. And again, you can actually teach your pawn to use them more often than not by being a sorcerer or a mage for a while, or something that can use a staff, being enchanted with Horley and spamming them against certain enemies, and your pawn will pick up that behavior as well. It's very nice. There is a wee bit of a trap occasionally pawns can get into though if you give them a buff skill, in that they will keep buffing instead of attacking even if everyone has the buff. But generally that's something you can get out of them if you just train them well. Inclinations have a lot to do with that as well. So those are the 6 classes pawns can be, your 3 basic and then 3 advanced. And now we get into hybrid vocations. Hybrid red and blue, so part mage, part fighter, Mystic Knight. I don't even have a magic shield, do I? Or I have this. Mystic Knights can use swords, maces, which are exclusive to them, or staves, like mages can. Similar to fighter, they can perfect block with the shield. They have the same basic, they have a lot of the basic fighter attacks and skills. Still have Bear Strike. Oh dear. However, they don't have, one thing they don't have is Dragon's Maw. That's exclusive to fighters, but there is a sort of quasi-weaker version of it called Full Moon Slash. It still has iframes, but it's a lot less. It's a quicker attack, less iframes, less attack in general, but it can be handy in a pinch. Some of their bread and butter moves if you want to focus on the offensive side. Great Cannon. Apparently this mace is out of my level as well. Do I have yeah. There we go, I can actually swing my weapon without it costing me stamina now. Ruinous Sigil. This sets up sort of a landmine for enemies. They step in this, they get blown up and away, typically. Unless they're a big enemy, then they just kind of tank through it, but take a lot of damage in doing so. Then Great Cannon. You summon an orb of energy, and then you smack it. Then you fire focus bolts out, just like a mage staff would, for the light attacks. You can actually set up more than one. Handy thing to do is use full moon slash on it because you machine gun orbs out. Of course, both the sigil and the great cannon will take on the effects of whatever enchantment your weapon has. So if you're using this mace here, which is a fire mace, as you can see its element is enchanted with fire, then the orbs will do fire damage, or the sigil will, as either one. You've also got Abyssal Anguish that you can juice up your weapon with. This provides a lot of power to your attacks. Adds a little shockwave. It's difficult to properly state just how powerful this is. It's a pretty substantial buff. It actually goes well with Great Cannon because the shockwaves add extra bolts. But generally, you buff your weapon with this, and then you go to town on a monster's weak point, and they really feel it. Now, Magic Shield. What else can you do with it? So, there are lots of enchanting skills for the Magic Shield tree. There are trances, which, unlike Mage and Sorcerer Staff, they will enchant one person's weapon at a time. They will enchant your entire party's weapons for a much shorter duration than the Mage or Sorcerer will, but the entire party nonetheless. So you might get caught in the trap of, oh, that's handy, I can just enchant everyone's weapon like this. But they take an eternity to cast, and again, they don't last very long. However, there's also the riposts, which enchant your shield with magic. Now, what this means is, if you perfect block an attack, it's going to stagger the enemy and it's going to blast out an effect based on the element of whatever you have your shield charged with. So for thunder, you'll send a lightning bolt out that can thunder strike an enemy and knock them down. For frost, you'll freeze them. The Holy Riposte will send out Holy Focus Bolts, which are really nice. There's actually an interesting combo you can do against a certain super boss in the post-game dungeon that involves setting up some great cannons, having Holy Riposte on, and perfect blocking a certain spell to just absolutely destroy your frame rate with a massive amount of Holy Focus Bolts aiming towards that bad boy. So you can actually play Mystic Knight in a variety of ways. You can play them as sort of a magic fighter with Ruinous Sigil, Great Cannon, Full Moon Slash, Abyssal Anguish, which I don't have enough stamina to cast. Or you can even be more defensive by enchanting your shield and just practicing your perfect blocks. And either way, you're going to do really well. It's very versatile. And even on top of that, you can equip staff. So you have more mobility than a fighter or a warrior have, the other two red classes. So staves and archstaves get this as a movement ability. Levitate. It's very handy to cross little gaps, and this to get certain secret items in this dungeon, it's very handy. But unfortunately, fighter and warrior don't get any movement skills. So that and the flyers being an issue are unfortunate realities they have to deal with. Next is assassin, which is partially red, partially yellow. This can use daggers and short bow, just like Strider can, or can use shield or sword, like a fighter can, or daggers and shield, or sword and bow. You can use either daggers or sword, and then either shield or bow. It's really a prerogative which one strikes your fancy more. Has a lot of the same abilities of Strider, but with some extra. There's not a great deal I can say about it different than Strider, just because I personally haven't really played it that much differently than a Strider. I mostly use it for leveling because Assassin gives the highest strength growth in the game on level up. So if somebody wanted to try to min-max their strength stat, they just go YOLO with Strider all the way to 200 to max level after an initial 10 levels of fighter, which is definitely a viable build. You will be super gamped on magic defense though, so you need to watch out for those spells, how they'll eat you alive in hard mode. But things will die very quickly when you hit them. Except for, specters and rays and the like, ghosties that are immune to physical damage. There's also CR. I actually haven't even ranked vocation up on this. I'd forgotten about that. Oops. But Assassin's very customizable. You can mix a little bit of play styles that you like. And here we go. What I'm actually going to play as this go through. What's just some basic daggers? Do I not have any basic daggers? I guess. And regular short bow. Sorry. Magick Archer, right. Okay, where's that Brigandine jerkin? This is the one that needs it. Wait. Oh, there it is. So again, we're cosplaying what they're wearing in the preview screen, which I may have went through fast too for you to see, honestly. There we go. Of course, this one being a Mystic Knight as opposed to Fighter. Mainly because I did a practice run as a Fighter before starting this. And I used the Fighter getup as the basis of the outfit for that playthrough. So, one of these days I'll click the right buttons. I'll learn how to work menus. I need to learn skills, I need to set skills. So, Magick Archer has similar basic dagger skills like a ranger does, but you also have some bonus stuff. One important one is Magic Rebalancer. This increases your party's magic defense and magic attack for 90 seconds. You don't have to stand in it either. And it stacks with itself up to 4 times. So you can spam it down. And now your party is juiced up on magic. Pretty hard and heavy. Otherwise you have your 100 kisses cutting wind. An interesting thing about Magick Archer is the Magick Archer only skills they have an inherent element to them. Like Sunflare is fire, Grand Ascension is holy. This sends a little orb of light out that damages enemies, and based on the damage it does, it heals you. That apparently scales over how much magic defense you have, so it actually works well with Magic Rebalancer. Shadow Shackle is a trap. Enemies get stuck and can't get out. Or at the very least it slows them down a bit. Sort of like Torpor almost. And of course that's clearly dark. So, Mystic Knight and Magick Archer generally, well, Mystic Knight especially, sort of gets get their damage from both stats, both physical and magic. Magick Archer leans a lot heavier towards magic, but there is a particular skill you might be interested in called Immolation that scales off your physical strength despite you setting yourself on fire magically. So, when it comes to dagger classes, the key to climbing enemies is to climb, get to a weak point, and then just spam 100 kisses. Or 1,000 kisses if you have that upgraded ring. In this case, you set yourself on fire, climb to a weak point, and 100 kisses. And the cancel lets you recast. This will damage yourself, so you do have to watch your health. But eventually you'll have enough health you can stick for a while. Of course, generally, if you're going to be a climby loss, Strider is probably better for it, or even Assassin. Assassin has an invincibility skill that's mistakenly translated as invisibility, but what it is so you don't take any damage, but it continuously drains your stamina. And then, of course, once you run out, so does your invulnerability. Assassin actually has a 100 Kisses-esque move that still works when clung to an enemy with sword, Dire Gouge. But 100 Kisses is probably still better just because it has the upgrade to 1000 Kisses with the ring. Strider, though, has an advantage in that they inherently climb faster than other classes. Let's get rid of these clothes and weapons I don't need. Like Mystic Knight and Mage, Magick Archer can also carry staves. That they strangely equip as opposed to daggers. I feel like they said equip as opposed to your magic bar, but either way. Which means Magick Archer has access to both type of extra mobility class skills of Levitate, and for dagger users, the dodge roll and double jump. Both of which just feel very nice when it comes to trying to platform. When it comes to spells, both Magick Archer and Mystic Knight pretty much get the basic damaging spells that Mage do. So like your Ingles, your Levens, Comestian, which is a medium damage fire spell as opposed to Ingle being sort of a lower damage one. Tools. Let's go ahead and get our lanterns out so we can see in the dark. So, my first order of business here, now that we've went up, did I? Nobody saw that? It's alright. Didn't actually happen. Alright. My first order of business in Bitter Black Isle here. Did I set her level down? I did. Okay. Will be to find a better magic bar. Now, in Vanilla Dragon's Dogma, back in the old days when it first came out, Magick Archers really had it rough. Because there are only 3 magic bars in the game at the time before you fought the final boss. And they all had pretty laughable stats, even fully upgraded. They actually buffed their stats a decent bit once the expansion was released, which did help. But still a bit of an issue. Luckily, there are some upgrades we can find not too far into this dungeon, and it gives me an opportunity to show you an interesting start that you can do by taking advantage of how switching to hard mode works in the game to get some nice loot early on, if you like. What damaged me? It's confusing. Let's go ahead and rest. Just make sure everything is in line before we go spelunking. Oh, I suppose I could, just for safety. When you're like me and you spend way too much bloody time in the character creation, you're bad to... you don't want to cover up the faces you made. But luckily, that's where circlets come in. And this particular one is a really lovely piece of headgear. Stats-wise, it's nothing special, but look at those debilitation resistances. Once it's fully upgraded, it gives really lovely resistances to some really nasty status effects. And this dungeon is chock-a-block full of enemies that love to inflict all of the status effects on your poor pawns. And yourself, of course. Petrification is a particular one that's a nasty bugger. And here we are. I find it very strange that reconnoiter request. What? Oh. Yeah. I didn't realize I had accidentally even accepted that. So, first thing we're going to do before actually entering the dungeon is accept these. These give a great deal of experience and all really nice items to start you out with. Now, we're level 10, so there's not going to be any actual fighting going on here. We will just get destroyed. We will do pretty much no damage and get one shot by everything. So we're going to do our best Wile E. Coyote impersonation and run, or Roadrunner as it were. It'd be bad to be the Coyote. Nothing good there. Welcome to Bitter Black Isle. Lovely place. So there's some nasties over there, so we'll just go over here to avoid them. Of course we can take these little buggers out. My apologies for anyone that's arachnophobic, but these are a thing. They're not super common, but they do exist. Oh, silly me, I didn't even show off the magic part. So, like the dagger skills, how'd you get there? Like the dagger skills, the magic bar skills also have inherent elements to them. So, Strider, Assassin, and Ranger have, well, Strider and Assassin have threefold, which upgrades into sixfold flurry. Ranger has sixfold, which upgrades to tenfold flurry. Well, Magick Archer's variant of that multiple arrow in one shot skill is ninefold, or 3-fold bolt into 6-fold bolt into this ring that increases it to 9-fold bolt. And it, as you can probably tell, is frosty. It's ice elemental. Another attack that's really handy in this particular dungeon, Ricochet Hunter, which is lightning flavor. So, as it says on the tin, it ricochets around the room, and every time it hits a wall and bounces off, it doubles in power. So the tighter and smaller space you can use it in, and the more bounces you get, the more you just shred things with it. It's absolutely lovely. And here is Explosive Volley. Now you walk over and hit it with a physical weapon and it blows up. So that's explosive / fire. These are generally the 3 attacks I use on Magick Archer in Bitter Black. I swear this dungeon seems like it was designed around Magick Archer's kit just because of how well it works to combat the enemies here, because most enemies here are weak to either ice or lightning, as opposed to the main story where predominantly things will be weak to fire. But here, things are often resistant to fire, but weak to ice and lightning. Even the Cyclops in the main world, who is predominantly weak to lightning, still takes pretty good damage from fire as well. Alright, we're going to go ahead and save because we gotta run. Actually, let's see if Ricochet Hunter can do some work. Alright. We take those. Let's see if we can get them in that room. I'm enjoying this a lot already. If this was still my fighter playthrough, I wouldn't be able to scratch them. I'm not using some broken spell bar or something, am I? No. This is one step up from a rusty spell bar. Throat cutters. Finally, some bloody daggers. I don't know how I ran out of daggers. Or why nor why. I clean up my inventory. So I get rid of all the weaker stuff. Alright. Now I have some proper daggers. We'll go ahead and save again. Well, actually, we'll have to run here regardless. And you'll see why. Boy. Yeah, that's bad news. As you could probably tell. You just want to run away. If his lantern light hits you, he'll teleport over to you. And his lantern will glow blue. And he'll put you to sleep. Then he'll swing his scythe, and you'll be erased. Typically they say that when he leaves, but I can still hear him. Okay, he seems to have left. Often you just leave the room and come back in, and he'll be gone. That's a scripted encounter every time the first time you enter here. He'll show up to let you know how it's going. Alright. Just mosey on past here. Good thing about dagger classes, even if you run out of stamina for sprinting, you can just dodge roll and it's seemingly almost as bloody fast. And it costs no stamina. There's a nice little secret area with some loots. It's a nice place to grab a lower level cursed item. See, if you'll recall, one of the quests we picked up from the notice board was to purify a cursed item. Oh yeah, we have a mage. That's rare for me to have a mage. So we have you use rift crystals, which is what you get for having your pawn rented, to purify cursed items. And you get some really nice stuff out of it. Well, usually. And now we're going to complete a different one of those quests we picked up. Meeting this bloke. He's your friendly neighborhood vendor for this dungeon. He's got a wicked moustache as well, and those mutton chops. For 1976, baby. I guarantee he's got a Trans Am. Smokey and the Bandit style. I unironically like that car, not gonna lie. So we speak to him to trigger the quest completing. Easy 12,000 experience for just running through a room. Easy as. Just like they drew him up. He also gives you a very handy little item called a lift stone, which lets you teleport out of this dungeon at any time. We're going to make ample use of that in a moment. Also, if you're like me and you come here to switch classes before going to Grand Soren, you may be stuck without a weapon depending on the class you switch to, because they're not available for purchase in Khazardus. But luckily, he's got you covered, because he has a weapon for each type, including the longbow I'm equipped with currently, or the Magick bar. That's what I get for speaking and reading at the same time. It's also got you some upgraded equipment you can look at. Or at least again, better than you could find in Khazardus. Or he actually has red leather stuff already. But not the arm, not the chest piece. That's interesting. So we completed one of the 3 notice board quests. Purify a cursed item is easy as soon as we get back to Uldra, who's the blonde lady at the beginning that brought us here. But this one, further upgrade a weapon, has been strengthened in Wamfire. That objective is a bit misleading, unfortunately, because it doesn't have to be a weapon. It can be just any piece. It could be any piece of equipment that can be Dragon Forged. Dragon Forged being an upgrade level. I'll go ahead and show you that now. So this is upgrading items. Weapons, armor. They have 3 base levels. You use various materials you pick up from the wild or get from critters you kill, and you upgrade your equipment. It increases the stats, as one would expect. It also lowers the weight, which is really lovely, because things can get pretty bloody heavy as you go along, and they become more and more difficult to carry. But I'll show you. So, on your own, you can upgrade to up to 3 stars depending on the materials and golds you have. Now, when it says strengthened in Wormfire, what does that mean? Well, that's the 4th upgrade level. This red one. This is called Dragon Forging. Every time you fight a Dragonkin enemy, as long as a piece of equipment is upgraded at least to 1 star, there will be a chance that it will be Dragon Forged after killing said dragon. And then once you do that, then you have to come to him, to Barak here. None of the other places that upgrade equipment can do this. He can do what's called rarefying, which is to go from Dragon Forge to silver and then gold rarefying, which is the maximum upgrade. Just increasing from level 0 to even 3 isn't all that much of a difference. But Dragon Forging is a pretty big leap. And then rarefying to silver is a pretty big leap again. And then gold is another real big leap, to where the difference is pretty insane. Even really early game equipment can get very respectable stats once fully upgraded. In fact, the ancient circlet, this little cutie we're wearing here, this circlet, is one such equipment. And it's actually what I'm going to use right now to show you how you can easily. We'll go to Item Editor, turn it down to Dragon Forge. Alright. So now, it's not gold rarefied anymore. Now it's just Dragon Forged. So we need to go to Rarefy and figure out what it needs. Dreamwing Nostrum. Well, where do we get that? Luckily, he sells them. He sells the exact amount you need. And just like that, we completed the second of the 3 quests, the initial quests from the notice board. The Ancient Circlet is... Now, full disclosure, I haven't looked at every single piece of equipment and compared, but I feel like you'll be hard-pressed to find an easy item to fully upgrade an Ancient Circlet, considering literally every material you need you can buy from this guy right here. Because even then all you need are lift stones. Let's make sure I still have the lift stone in my inventory. I don't, so I'll have to buy one from him. We'll be in tools. There we go, he has 8 when you need 6. So, you even have extras. See, just like that, we've completed 2 quests and we've essentially gotten 5 levels out of it from doing absolutely nothing but running. But we're not finished. Let's kill these bunnies because I have a notice board quest for it. Getting pretty unlucky with chests. One thing, so when it comes to bars, also notice again your movement speed isn't hampered with your bar at with Magick Archer like it is with Ranger, which is really nice. It can feel a bit awkward to shoot if you're used to shooting as one of the physical bar classes. It's difficult to explain. It may even just be the sound design, but it just feels different shooting. Aiming, though, is definitely different. Where with the physical bar classes, you have your little reticle, which you can see in the middle still. So you try to aim that the best you can. But this targets more like spells do, where they kind of auto lock on, as long as you get in range. So it can be pretty handy. However, you might think, oh, this is easy mode. How can you miss? But if things rush you, the targeting has a tendency to get a bit wonky if something's too close to you. So you gotta maintain your distance. Also, as with most of the case, notice how the camera zooms in when you do this, when you aim your bar. That's both a blessing and a curse. A blessing because obviously it gets you a better advantage to actually line up your aim with, but now you can't see the ground around you or anything behind you. It really cuts your periphery off. So in a hectic fight, now you don't know if something's coming up behind you to club you in the head. Or even worse, casting a spell right under your feet, it's going to blur you up. I may not have died to that more than a few times. You never hear me admit it, though. Oh, I got distracted with an anecdote and didn't even go over what I wanted to go over in this room. So, Dusk Moon Tower, which is a lovely place, really pretty. Lovely moonlight shining through. These are really nice. They're healing plants. Definitely recommend picking them up as you come across them. There are lots of little treasure chests scattered around that you can find some nice stuff with. These perfumes are really handy because they heal the entire party's health as opposed to just you. There are certain little medicines like that. Some crows. Notice these weird doors. Oh. Need a moonbeam gem to open it. So there are 8 of these doors scattered around this tower. And behind them are some really lovely little treasures. And I'm going to show you how you can sort of cheese your way into getting as many of each of these treasures that you want, just starting the game like this. Or I will attempt to, as it were. First we'll mosey on into here, to the Ward of Regret. Oh, what have we here? It's a broken rift stone. You can use rift crystals to fix it. However, I wouldn't recommend doing it if you're going to do this method that I'm about to show you. Because what we're basically going to take advantage of is looping while keeping all our levels and gear. Kind of like how I started this playthrough, almost exactly like how I started this playthrough. And when starting a new loop, any of these rift stones you repair are going to be broken again. Sorry you would have just wasted 3,500 rift crystals for nothing. It's pretty sad. Oh wow. It's such a weird feeling being able to actually damage things in hard mode. I guess that's just Magick Archer. Jeez. Alright, now that that's taken care of. Notice this viscera left behind when you kill enemies in this dungeon. It's a very important thing to note. It only happens in this dungeon. It doesn't happen in the outside world. There are remains left behind, don't get me wrong, but not quite like this. Keep a lookout for these little buggers. They're pretty handy for early quests, or it's pretty handy to get a collection of them together early, because they're going to be notice board quests that require items that you've put inside of them. Over here you'll find a skelly key. Now we can go back over here to these prison cells. Unfortunately we only have one key, but I prefer to open this door when we only have one key, even though it has one less treasure chest in it, because it's a trap. The skeleton lord spawns in the room, and then on the outside got these buckaroos. So I like to run and take them out as quickly as I can. That's bad news. He will one-shot me. He is a very late game style enemy. Everything here is. Besides the hobgoblins. Those are early stuff. Okay. He's pretty resistant to it. But he won't be resistant to this. Come on, blow him up, love. Good girl. Blow him up again. At a loss. Look at you. You beauty. Alright. Notice how I suddenly started fighting when we get into a room that I can actually do things in, with all these tight walls and such. But in an open area, I'm pretty useless in, for now. More spooters. Oh, sure is a nice door. Shame it's closed. Oh, yeah, sometimes if they open that chest, it can be a bit wonky fitting through there to get that. So there are a bunch of bats in here, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Because this is hard mode, and they will melt your health bar. Or they'll melt my health bar. Pawns are fine. Hard mode's effects only work on you. Your pawns are still, it's still normal mode for them. I recommend saving at this point. Well, that is not what I wanted to grab. It's very kind of them to give you all these explosive barrels. Also, doing this, your pawns will learn from this and start chugging explosive barrels when they find them. It's pretty adorable, honestly. See, easy as. Didn't even have to draw me weapons to do that. Poor pawns, though, really. Well, she isn't, because she's healing every time she levels up. But they're taking a licking. There's another airtight flask. No, we need to do these. Okay, killed one of them. Beautiful. Dragon Spit is a handy little tool. You throw it and it sets something on fire. Shackle. You can make skeleton keys with that and something else. It's been such a long time since I've actually crafted a skeleton key. I think it's a hunk of iron. Sorry, you remember that door? Well, over here is where it leads to. Nice little chest here. This will, as far, I'm pretty sure it always has a bit of black gear in it. And here's a lever to open that. It's not really a shortcut so much as just a different way into this same room. There's also another explosive barrel here. Little treasure chest. So, I'm just opening treasure chests willy-nilly, but you do have to be careful in this dungeon. Because I'll show you in just a moment. If you'll notice, there was a chest up here that for some reason I didn't approach. Allow me to show you why. Alright, oh dear. Bats. No, wait, no, I need to demonstrate, love. Don't you do it. Oh, come on. No, stop. Okay. The mimics. Alright, that's strange. So normally, that's supposed to make him let you go. It did not work this time. There's no way we can kill him in time before he escapes. So, the goal is just survive. That is an instant death spell he's casting. If you're in the ring when it pops off, you will instantly die. I'm really surprised that he didn't let me go when he got set on fire there. Regardless, I could have whipped out the staff. No, you can't change equipment while in the middle of an attack animation. Right. And use the light attack, when you charge it, is the focus bolts. But the heavy attack is necromancy. You get these little... What? Huh. That's an interaction I didn't realize what happened. You get these little ghosties that fly around you and protect you. And they'll smack him when he tries to gobble you down. The sorcerer can cast miasma, which is a big poison fog. It'll do the same thing. Mystic Knight can also do this. And I was pretty sure immolation was supposed to work, but it may be because I'm so low level I couldn't do enough damage to proc as kind of a stagger to him. That was probably what it is. Maybe. We'll have to test it when we get higher level. Actually, I'll just grab this for no particular reason. You're a tough little bugger, aren't you? Rift Crystal, and this one. What is? Ah, that's interesting. That's the first time I've not gotten a Pharaoh cape out of that box. Pharaoh cape's really nice wolf skin, a black wolf skin cape or cloak. Goes over your shoulders. It's pretty nice. Alright. Now here is the big room we've been trying to get to. Glad it auto saves. First thing we're going to do is go down here. You see this? Sour ambrosial meat. We need to grab that. Go to it. Combine with one of the airtight flasks we have, because we're going to need 5 of those to turn in for a notice board quest eventually, and it's great to get a head start on them. Alright, we'll go ahead and save that, just to keep me from having to go do it in case this room goes awry, because this can be a bit tricky. We have to race to the top of this tower, grab an item, and lift Starnat before dying. Oh dear. Finally stop. So, you think that the skelly sorcerers are the issue? They're not the most dangerous thing that's up here, though. How did that even hit me? I call shenanigans, King. Oh, he hit me through the wall. Interesting. That's a thing. I now know that can happen. Luckily, the thing that I was talking about seems to be distracted. And right here is what we need. Oh dear. That came out too quick. I'll go ahead and grab that because that is a very nice item to go ahead and grab. In fact, this lantern that I'm using is kind of a super lantern. It gives a lot more light than a regular lantern does, and the oil lasts a lot longer. Go ahead, Neil. And it comes from those. Alright, so now we can speak to her. Request purification. We can purify one of the cheap things that we picked up on the way. And just like that, we completed all 3 of the initial notice board quests for this the dungeon. Free 36,000 experience. But, most importantly, we picked up this bad boy. So what do we do with it? Well, here's an important one. Collect 10 macabre sculptures. What are macabre sculptures? What in the world? Well, each room has one or multiple depending on the room, of these little carvings that you need to collect. There's 30 of them in all in the entire dungeon, and you'll need all 30 of them to complete all 3 notice board quests involving them. And you want to complete all 3 of them because they all give really nice equipment. So the first, in this room, there's actually 2 of them. You can use double jump to get over here, but the controller I'm using, the dash button, is a bit wonky, and you have to time it pretty quickly because you have to dash off the pillar and jump without accidentally falling off first. So it's better just to levitate. Here's the first one. And over here is the second one. Alright. So now we have 2 out of 10. And you can actually collect the full 10 by going through and doing this. Each of these loops, but you don't need to, because again, you keep all your items. So if you're going to do this little loopy, wait a minute, we're missing somebody. Where did our mage go? Demon's Periapp. That's a handy thing to have for the future. I'll go in here. Oh, you little buggers are back. There's another one. Also, enemies in this dungeon drop these little rift crystal specs and the like. So even if people aren't renting your pawn, you can acquire rift crystals. It's just, unfortunately, exceedingly tedious in comparison. If you're wanting to purify a lot of gear. Run through this room again. Now we're back to Blue Moon Tower, or Dusk Moon Tower. Wait a minute. Yeah, my pawn's gone. Oh dear. One is shrinking in number really quickly. Feels bad. Anyway, that's alright. Now, there are 2 cursed carvings, or macabre sculptures, here. There's one. Climb up all these boulders. Do a little bit of parkour over here. A little treasure chest in the alcove. Unfortunate. Throw Blast is like a stronger version of the Dragon Spit I showed you earlier. Instead of just setting an enemy on fire, it's a decent explosion. It's a mini bomb. So, one thing I picked up right there off the ground was a Wake Stone shard. If you get 3 of those, it becomes a Wake Stone, which you can use to revive yourself if you lose all your health. So think of them as extra lives, as it were. Yeah, we've got to be very careful. Right here on this roof. The roof that leads into here. Ward of Regret. Which I'm going to go in originally just to get the Macabre Sculpture, but now I'm going to waste some Whiff Crystals just so I can get my main pawn back. It's very amusing that she disappears like that. As you can see with your main pawn, you just touch a Rift Crystal and they immediately spawn back. Why did everything respawn? Whatever. It's fine. Oh dear, I just took a dip. Let's take out the... Okay, bots, I see you. So, this carving here is right there. I'm going to go ahead and leave. There are, I believe, 2 in the big tower room, but they're not really in places easily accessible without having to clear out most of the enemies. So when you're doing these little early looping runs till you get some levels under your belt and some better equipment, I recommend just leaving those be. We still have 6 out of 10 even now. And there's a room right up here that has another. This is actually a handy little room. It's one of 2 rooms in this dungeon that always has enemies in it. So we got unlucky here in that the day ticked over and all the enemies respawned on us. But typically if you clear a room out, it'll be a bit before the enemies respawn, unless it just has an alternate set of enemies. We don't want to deal with that. That'll be a bit of a thing. But this room, and another room later in the dungeon that is similar to it, will always have critters to fight. Okay, this is fine. Some nice money here. Just run over here, and we got our 7th statue against this wall on top of this boulder. Now we try to run as fast as possible, because these are sort of challenge rooms, so they're a little tougher than the common enemies we've been fighting so far. Now we have 7 out of 10. Now that I've showed you those, it's time to actually... Well, for one, switch back to daggers. I wonder. Okay. These better daggers that I found aren't out of my level. That's lovely. Right here is where we use the key we picked up. Now, I suggest you get your running shoes on, because this is yet another room we have to run through. We're about to meet some nasty little buggers here in this hallway. Leapworms. They're little pest enemies, but in hard mode they become quite deadly. They're one of the few enemies in this dungeon where even after you kill them they can still hurt you. Just dash on by. I could probably actually kill them with Ricochet, aren't I? Ah, there we go. I swear, Magick Archer is just... or this dungeon, rather, was designed for Magick Archer. And now we're over here. There's some really... we're starting to get to places where there's some really good loot you can get in these chests. Depending on how luck holds out. Another Wakestone shard. Might as well pick that up. Oh, bit of black armor, level 1. That's really handy. Let's see, I think that's all of it. So, I highly recommend saving here, because besides teaching you how to do the loop, I also wanted to get a better magic bar. And there's a chest in this next room that has a chance of holding the bloody thing. But there's some critters in there that are very much tough. So getting in here and getting out. Oh, alright, I'm gonna need you to kill me. There you go. That's a good lad. Be try. Hopefully this won't take too long, but I will warn you I have notoriously poor luck. So we could have to reset for a while. Alright. Get me. Ooh, one shot. Nice. These are as tough as goblins come. I believe they're tougher than Graham Goblins, which are post-game goblins. These are greater goblins. Oi. Alright. Yeah. So besides the magic bar that I'm after, you can also get a decent long bar, because long bars actually have a similar problem with magic bars when it comes to at least base game, in that for whatever reason you have to go so far between finding upgrades to them. Of course, the long bars didn't have it as bad as magic bars had, where their base stats were just dreadful in vanilla, to the same extent at least. But either way, you can find either of them here. Oh, that luck's shining through. It's actually not too dreadful of a chance to get them, either of them. Sorry. Just getting unlucky. Watch me actually have this in my inventory, but I at least want to show you how to get it in case you want to play through as a Magick Archer. Ah. Incidentally, that Lordly Tonic is one of the best healing potions in the game. It heals a very, very large amount of health. Until you get to like max level, it pretty much will be a guarantee. There we go. Alright, now I need to not die so I can actually save. Feats don't fail me now. Okay, we lost a support bond. What's in here? Fighter shield, but I think I already have a copy of. Okay. Unfortunately, we're still in combat, so I can't save. Wait, they didn't follow us all the way up here, did they? Pretty sure this is a dead end. Yeah. So what's happened is the enemies in the other room have aggroed on us through the wall, which is very unlucky. Let's try to check if there are any goblins in there. Okay. Seems pretty clear. So what we'll do is let's just run out of the room. We'll do our best French cosplay. And there we go. Easy as. Never in doubt. I'm not sure I'm even high enough level to use this little bugger. How much of an improvement even is it? It's 100 points stronger. That's a good chunk at this point in the game. Okay, it's not draining stamina for each shot. Yeah, we're level 20, so we're fine. Now, let's actually get to showing you this loop. How about it? Oh, first I need to show you the macabre sculpture here. So I'm going to have to run through those goblins again. Well, at least this time I don't have to stop and open a chest. Also go ahead and save. Although I think it already saved for me. That's why you were worse than there before. Disappointed. Don't mind us, we're just taking a stroll, picking some flowers. Alright, climb the ladder. It's actually in a very similar spot in the first room of this dungeon. But instead of on these rocks that are stacked on each other, it's there. So, that's an ogre. That's also bad news. But YOLO, as they say. That's a siren. That's also bad news. Her song heals the enemies, and it's a pretty substantial heal. This is a really lovely treasure chest because it can contain a Divine Seer card, which is what the Risen that you play as in the tutorial is wearing. His armor. I'm actually very fond of it. I'm always tempted every time I try fight a Mystic Knight to sort of, oh no. That's a cockatrice. They're bad news, sorry love. I've got nothing that can actually, well this is fine. Petrification is one of the worst status effects. Because, so normally if one of your pawns lose all their health, they just collapse under the ground, as you've seen earlier, and you just go, you press the circle button for PlayStation, I guess the B button for Xbox as it were, and you'll pick them back up at half health. But if they're petrified, or it's just like they fell in water, they're gone and you have to rehire them at a rift crystal somewhere. So it's very bad news. You didn't want it to happen. Wait, what was that siren? Oh, she's stuck behind the boulder. That's actually funny. Yeah, I can't even damage her. Can't I ever kill these hobgoblins? There she goes singing. That is his petrifying breath. Now let's see if I can actually get by without him smacking me. Wait, stop that. That was close. They're a mean bugger. Really mean. But we made it. But we're not going to stay in this room yet. So this room goes down a ways, and then at the end of it is a boss room. Well, the next room down is a boss room. We're definitely not going to do that. Alright, the lift stone. I'll go ahead and grab that. Here's a nice rest area though. And here is where we wanted to get. First I'll show you where the statue is. Here's also a lovely healing spring, which does just what it says on the tin. We should have 9 out of 10. So the 10th one, for an easy completion of this particular notice board quest, will be in that room we were just in. But first, oh, there's another notice board. Of course, we're not going to be able to do any of these right now, because we're about to loop. But up here is a moonbeam gem, which we need for those doors. So now, normally, we'd be all good to lift stone on out of here and go grab the item we need out of our chosen moonbeam door. But first, let's go ahead and show you where you can easily get the 10th macabre sculpture. Down here. It's a very charming little effect with the small bats going through this cavern. Go ahead and save and get your sneakers zipped up and ready to go. Tighten those bars. And just run. Run like you owe them money. Right at the sewer. Oh dear, we've killed ourselves. Oh, what have we over here? There she is. Now we can lift stone out. There you go, an easy initial 10 macabre sculptures. And you're going to have these with the loops. Which means you don't have to bother with some of the more difficult copies of this statue, because every time you loop, these same 10 are going to be here again. So 10 will quickly turn into 20, and then into 30, and 30 is the highest you need. Of course, for those who don't want to even do this loop, that's fine. I will do my best to show you where all 30 of them are as we get to them. But first, let's get back to Dusk Moon Tower, so I can actually show you some of the Moonbeam doors. Run, little one. Oh dear. So normally, once you get a certain distance from them, your pawn will snap to you. It's actually surprising she hasn't already done so. There she went. So I was right at the boundary there. Thought so. Alright. So I will show you all the doors, if I can remember where they all are. Because frankly, there are a couple of them that I never really get personally. Of course, the ones you want to start with are probably over here. This one right here contains a ring of perseverance. So when it comes to vocations, you sort of have two different sets of experience. You have your experience for your level, as you can see at the top there, and then at the bottom you see discipline points. Those are experience points for your vocation, and you need a lot of them to rank up your vocation, because your vocation starts out with no ranks, but as you get more ranks, you get access to new skills you can unlock, as well as core skills and augments. Augments you can carry over between vocations. So you can grab an augment, you can grab stability from Ranger, and then have it equipped, even if, say, you're a fighter, or a Magick Archer in this case. Also, interesting, we still have a... Oh, she doesn't. I'll have to rectify that. But it takes some doing. Discipline point farming is a bit of a chore, frankly. So it's a bit wonky, because so if you want to level grind, you'd think, oh, I'll go fight the big boss monsters that give the most experience, which makes sense. However, that's not what you want to do with discipline points, because it's kind of an inverse relationship to the amount of experience points something gives. So the things that give the best bang for your buck with discipline points are the things that are like 100 experience points and under, of which are very few things in hard mode, because hard mode doubles the experience you get from everything. Doubles or triples, I forget. Maybe even triples. So generally you want to stick as lower experience point enemies as possible. So especially under 1,000 ones. Those are the best ones, since it's sort of difficult to find things that are under 100. A larger percentage of those will be given as discipline points as well as experience points. However, these rings, the Ring of Perseverance, will double the amount of discipline points you get, and you can equip 2 rings at a time. So, one thing you want to do if you want easy vocation leveling is use this to grab a Ring of Perseverance, and then loop, do what we did here again, grab another Moonbeam Gem, come back here, grab your second one, and 2's all you need. After that, you can either just keep playing on with your game, or if you want to keep looping, right here is a really, really strong short bow called Dragon's Eye. It is the strongest enchanted, pre-enchanted short bow in the game. It's actually the only enchanted short bow in the game. It's really handy for those Striders or Assassin players. Of course, you have to be level 46, I think it is, before it won't slurp all your stamina up. Which, as you can see, even not really fighting, we've shot up to over level 20 already. Sorry, it won't take long to get there. Now, unfortunately, here's where it starts getting a little screwy with me. So, the middle contains Dragon's Glaze Longbow. It's the best enchanted longbow. This one contains a trophy jacket, I'm pretty sure, which I will actually be wearing eventually. Let's check, actually. Pretty sure you have trophy jacket. Yeah. So the trophy armor set is a really good armor set for Magick Archers in particular, because each piece, all 3 pieces, give a big boost to your magic just at the gate. They also are very pretty in general. For those that want to fashion it up, which frankly I do, typically. Okay, so trophy jacket's there. Pretty sure that's Dragon's Glaze. And here is the Adept's Robe, I think. It's for sorcerers, or it's for blue classes, any magic user. So if you're a blue class, you can have it that one. Let's see. I think... No, it's over here. So there are 3 more. Full disclosure, as I mentioned before, I don't have perfect memory of where all of them are, only the ones that I get most commonly. Oh, that was almost close. Or, wrong way. Oh, sorry. That's actually the hard way. The easy way is just to partially climb the rocks here and just drop over here. This, I'm pretty sure, is the Dragon's Roost, which is a really good fighter shield. In fact, I would argue it's probably the best shield for a fighter / assassin in the game, because it is enchanted with lightning for one, but the important part is it inflicts a status debuff if you perfect block of lowering the enemy's strength. It is the only piece of equipment that can do that, and it's really nice. In fact, there are certain enemies that if you want to get full pawn knowledge for, bestiary knowledge, you need to inflict lower its strength on. And that's one of the only ways you can do it, honestly. It's a pretty obscure status debuff to inflict. So it's a really lovely shield. It's really aesthetically pleasing looking shield as well. And now so the Adept's robe, I'm pretty sure, is that one over there. But if it's not, then it's the Adept Mantle, which is the cape that goes in that set. However, right over here is another one. So this is either the Adept's robe, mantle, or the final item, which I personally find completely useless, the Ring of Desiccation. Whose use is when you equip it, or when you have it equipped, if you get doused with water, it instantly dries you out. Yeah, it's a bit of a letdown compared to everything else, but what are you gonna do? And then the last one is up here by old Barrock. This one actually might be the Ring of Desiccation, just because I cannot remember the last time I actually opened it. In fact, I might look it over here and this not even be where it is. Maybe that's exactly what just happened. Oh wow, that is exactly what just happened. How embarrassing. I think that proves my point, though. This is definitely the Ring of Desiccation. It's gotta be, because there it is. Yes. Right concept, wrong side of the room. So it's not up here by Barrock. Instead it's up here with all the creepy crawlers. Right here. Maybe this is the Adept's Mantle. Yeah, here's the last one. So those are the 8 Moonbeam Gem doors, and what's behind them. Not necessarily in the place in the exact order, but I do recommend to make sure, unless I just outwardly shard you where they are. It's like Ring of Perseverance is definitely on the right down there. Dragon's Eye is definitely on the left down there. That one on the far left is definitely Trophy's Jacket. That one's definitely Dragon's Glaze. It's just the other 3 that I'm a bit hazy on. But I'm pretty sure Dragon's Roost is there. So right, it's just the other 3 that I'm not sure on. So if any of those 3 are what you're wanting, I definitely recommend to look up the Dragon's Dogma Wikia. It's actually fairly extensive. Specifically, go to the Duskmoon Tower page, and they'll have a handy little map with a list that tells you what all's in there. Did I pick up that trophy jacket? Or did I just leave it in the chest? Yeah, there it is. So now you're all ready to loot. So you want to loot, just go to options. So if you're a new player, you've probably already started out on hard mode, but or on normal mode, so now you just save and go to the title screen, and then start a hard mode playthrough, like I did when I first started this stream. But in my case, I have to turn it down to normal. And then do what I just suggested you do. Save and go to the title screen. Now, before you do this, of course, if you're following a build and you don't want to use the mod, so you want to level as very particular classes, you need to make sure you're not about to level up. Because you don't want to accidentally level once or twice as a class you have no interest in the stats of. I should have just left Stern out of here. Because the warg are up here. They're going to be a pain. Kind of like these snakes are. Nice doggy. No. None of that. I'm away. Alright. Easy as. Never in doubt. Incidentally, if you want to level grind, having less pawns with you, or lower level pawns, up to an extent, will increase the amount of experience you get. Of course, including even if you get rid of your main pawn temporarily, but since you kind of want to level them with you, or I do, I'll always keep her around. I try to keep it full party anyway because I enjoy the teamwork. Plus pawns are just entertaining, especially if they're well trained. They can really wow you with how well they fight. It's really fun. I highly recommend putting some effort into training your pawn. It's quite a bit fun and trying to learn about how to sort of what skills their AI makes best use of. Fighter, for example. Just like myself when I was fighter, I don't particularly give shield skills because they're just a waste on a pawn, really, because they don't really do damage. And if they're using their shield, you want them to perfect block with it, not attack with it generally. You want them to attack with their sword. Honestly, you could just give them Dragon's Mar, and that's it. But I like to give them some variety. Definitely take this skill off, or they will spam it. It's a taunt skill that's supposed to draw aggro, but it doesn't quite work that way. I'll go ahead and show you what augments I typically equip on a fighter pawn. And of course I have to attempt to do it in alphabetical order because, let's see, some new stability. No, don't do this. So Clout and Vehemence are important because they buff your strength. And they stack multiplicatively. So Clout greatly augments. That's a 20% increase. Vehemence is a 10%. But again, they don't stack it additively; they stack multiplicatively. So instead of a 30% up, it's more of like a 33% up, which does add up. Let's see, conservation, so she can spam dragons more and more, and aggression, so she can escape if she gets grabbed. So that's generally it. But mostly you want, this is always handy because it increases carrying capacity. This is fairly handy, especially for caster pawns, so they don't get staggered by wind while they're in the middle of casting something really important. And generally both of your main attack stat augments are really good, and the others are filler.
さあともかく大き
Now that's over, we can save, turn to title screen. Hard mode. And it's deja vu all over again. Luckily we can actually skip cutscenes. I should be able to actually run into the fire and commit unalive this time. We shall see, since I'm not level 200 this time. Yeah, there we go. See, easy skip. Easy game, easy life. Wait a minute. That's strange. I had Mage Mark stat. Strange bug, I guess. Alright. This cutscene. And here we go. No place like home, as they say. So now you just do what I did at the start of the stream and you go get your pawn. You can continue looping however you want. But when it comes to actually progressing and doing side quests, we'll get to work on that next time. So I hope you enjoyed. Maybe learned something. And we'll see you next time. So long, everybody.